Hello and welcome back to another episode of creating Mega-lo-Mania in Unreal Engine 4. Running a bit late today, so this will be a fairly short stream, and we've been away for a few days. I didn't get anything done yesterday due to other commitments, so there was some improvements and changes that I made on the Wednesday, yes. So sorry, Wednesday was meant to be the next stream, but that day I was busy. Thursday was to try and get some other bits and pieces done. Nonetheless, I have done a few bits as I suggested that I would, particularly related to extracting more sprites for the menu area that will appear down here on the bottom left. So slight rearrangement in some of the parts. We've moved all the minimap set parts into the minimap folder, which contains sprites, as we've seen before. Again, same kind of structure for the sector map and a generic sprites directory. That one I'm intend to rename to units, I think, because it includes all the little men parts. Well, it will do once we're done. And then UI, particularly for this main control area. Within that, I have extracted quite a lot of the sprites from the texture. Certainly not all of them. I focused on kind of the main ones that I'll need to kind of get the basics of the control up and running. And from that, I've managed to create a couple of animations. Again, nowhere near complete, there's going to be a lot more, but we've got a little animation of the flag, or one of the flags, that tends to go on top of the buildings once you've put some buildings down on the sector, and the main clock. Obviously the clock doesn't just spin around, that will be counting down depending on the research or the production or whatever applies to that time. And let's say mostly we've got sprites related to the menu, but we also have some incomplete sprites for the army markers and castle markers on the minimap. They will eventually move into the minimap directory. We have quite a lot of varying arrows for the main menu. We have all the people or the man icon that sits in the middle of the menu depending on the current epoch level, or sorry, tech level. Cursor icons, other menu icons. We have a whole bunch of the resources. They're incomplete in terms of cropping, but they're predominantly there. And within the control menu, I've created a control menu blueprint, which is an actor, and we still have the right panel that we were working on before. I'm not, as I've said before, with regards to the kind of UI elements, I'm not convinced that the UI should be done within an actor or within a UI kind of widget blueprint. For now, we're just going with the actor because it keeps the image ratios the same, but we'll definitely have to look at kind of proper UI elements, particularly for the menu, if not for the minimap. So I took some of the images that I did and I put them into a control menu, the control menu blueprint. The control menu blueprint doesn't actually have any code to it as it stands. I didn't do anything like that. It was just place a whole bunch of the arrows and icons. So if I play it, we can see that I've got a few of the bits in the appropriate positions, or more likely approximate positions, with their relevant arrows. So we can go to the actual game. Jump into our island of choice. we can see that the parts are kind of in the right place. I've used the same arrows and I've used the same icons. We've got the research one, the building status and repair, army, and some elements or some resources. So actually looking at this particular map, so the kind of the next step would be to try and get this to be interactive, to change when we click on various parts of it. And another potential issue with how this actor's laid out is that there's various parts that are going to show or hide depending on the state of the game. More resources, different kind of menus. Now having a single blueprint that needs to be able to render, say for example, all of the research menu, all of the repair, the combat, the elements, all of those menus in one act is probably not going to work well. So the sub-menus that we have are probably going to have to be different actors, and we'll have to rename this. Now I was hesitant to call it kind of main menu. I don't particularly like referring to this kind of section, the left hand section, as a menu. It would feel more like kind of, or by describing it as such, it would look or sound more like we were talking about the game menu, which either was the screen before or even perhaps the screen in which you choose your character, or potentially with kind of improvements that we can make an actual more kind of main menu later on. So yeah, I think making it so that when we go into the various sections, it shows it uses a different blueprint is going to make sense, and switching between them shouldn't be too difficult, particularly if we create it dynamically instead of add it to the section. But even then, if we add it to the game view, we can always hide and show one. So what we'll do is we'll create the research. So when you start off on this level, or it doesn't matter which island part you start on, you always start the very first epoch and the islands thereof with these 6 available things. Now I think it's 4 technologies that you can get per level. So there's the first 2 tech levels, and we can see which other tech levels are available by showing up the kind of army stats, which does show up somewhere in the mini-map if you click the right thing. Perhaps needs some army people. Quickly do that. But the put these back. But it's possible to show what techs are available to the island. There's always a minimum and maximum level. For the first, I think it's 4 or 6 levels higher than the epoch you start on, that you can go up, and maybe 6 sounds a bit much. And as you progress through the game and you progress through the epochs and the island sets, it then removes the bottom and adds one to the top. So it's always the same amount of tech for each game. So this particular research window, it can have, I think, 4 individual rows of icons for possible technologies to research, which means that it's fairly static in comparison to perhaps the way that the resources are available. So we'll create our new actor, and this will be the research menu. And within that, we'll just drop the pieces that we have approximate locations for. So I don't know if I have all the sprites for that actually, but they're very quick to get. So we're going to need our main person again. I'll just get rid of the billboard over here. Nope, that large circle. We'll set the perspective to front and unlit. So that's our main man position, and let's just see if this works now. Yep, I don't know why that doesn't work. Sometimes it shows it, sometimes it doesn't. I do remember in the early days, it always used to be a little bit of a awkward thing to get up. Oh, there we go. We can do it when there's a fight going on. So we can see that we've got the unarmed people, the stone throwers, the slings, the spears, and the arrows. So it's 4 tech trees per island in total. And then getting it to hide it. So we'll focus on kind of creating this menu, or at least parts of the parts that we have available. Make that one smaller. So we have the small shield. Second one. Again, whether they really should just be empty paper sprites that could be filled in probably make more sense. But what we can do is, if we add all 4 possible properties, then we'll just have the 3 columns of the various parts, and we can switch out the sprites as and when we need to. I think we're actually researching something. We have the multiply and the equals, and we will have the clock. We'll restructure that hierarchy in a minute. But from the texture, so I found that it's fairly easy to get to the texture editor if we edit any sprite, edit the source region, we get back into the same view, because I can't, if I do it from this direction, it seems to want to create new sprites or edit them, but that way works. So we'll need the big light bulb. Again, I'll just crop these out roughly so that we don't have to spend too long. Sorting out the images. And the defense icons. And we need the blue ones, which are down here. The weapons we've got, the defense we've got, the shields we already had, the blue icons we've now got, we've got the times and the equals. We don't have the infinity, and they're all the numbers, but don't. We need the infinity. So with this, there's a grade of infinity as it is there, and then there's a white infinity. The grey infinity is used for the timer when the timer is not changing. The white infinity is if you're using the factories and you're making unlimited amount of things. So rather than 10 catapults, you can make an unlimited amount of catapults, and it will make them until it runs out of resources. So at the moment we just need the grey one. Now I'm not quite sure how to deal with the text and the numbers. We'll get to that when we're actually trying to make the UI more functional. Because ideally it would be good to kind of take all of the words and the numbers and the letters and make a font so that I can just use it. But I'm not sure if that's possible. If it's not possible, obviously it's not particularly practical to take all these letters, chop them up into sprites and build sentences with them. it wouldn't really work with the even for just the production and the time and things like that. It just wouldn't look right. So once, as I say, once we get to the words, we'll figure out what to do there. But we'll just now drop all of the sprites we need into here. So as I say, we're using the sprites from the first 4 tech levels for the 3 different categories, but we will code the blueprint at some point to, well, once we've got it kind of working better, we'll code the blueprint to dynamically pick the right ones. So we'll get rid of the hierarchy that is throwing all these in. It does this because when I drop one in, it selects it here on the left, and then when I drop the next one in, it adds it to the as a child of that particular one. It's fairly quick to unstack them, so it's slightly easier than making sure that when I drop one in, I unselect it. So they're all stacked on top of each other, so we just position them quickly in their appropriate places. So again, I won't spend too much time making sure everything's in the perfectly the right place, because we need to kind of get it functional rather than completely accurate to start with. We'll try and at least get it broadly right though. And obviously once I've kind of figured out where everything can go, then I can use the numbers directly to make sure that everything is aligned as it should and centered correctly. Too much. Defense. Multipliers about there. There. The way this lines it up is that the man is in the middle, and then we've got 0, and then we've got the middle of the shields. This shield being the defensive shield, that shield being the repair one. And then combat on one side, and let's move all these down. Just a little bit. Will do for now. Let's see how that looks. So we can hide the control menu within the editor. Well, hide it in game. Yeah, sorry, hide it there. And we can drop in our research menu. Yeah, so obviously it's spaced out a bit more than it should be. Definitely kind of overflows more than it should. Should actually fit fairly nicely from the top of the map, which we've got. The top of the map kind of overlaps a little bit, so maybe we want the mini map to be more there, and then our control menu. Oops. Then our research menu be about there. Keep opening the wrong window. Yeah, so the columns would be that this column of research maps up to the third, the final of the mini map, and then the first one maps to the first. So can do some rearranging, but again, not after it being perfectly aligned or even sorted yet. What we're going for is we've got the research menu, we've got the control menu. What would be good would be when we select the light bulb, we show the research menu, and when we select, oh, we forgot the big light bulb. That's how you get back. Sprites. That's my big light bulb. There we go. That one at the top. So yeah, to move back from the research menu, you click the big research light bulb. You can obviously change sector and go back. That will clear the menu as well, but for now we're just going to work on clicking the 2 light bulbs and changing the actor over from the control menu to the research menu. So when we did the control for the minimap, we handled all of the control in the player controller or the level. Can't actually remember which now, and it wasn't even that long ago. Player controller, blueprint. Clearly not here. So we handled it then at the level. Blueprint, superlevel, blueprint. Yeah, so we handled it at the level. Does that make sense? Probably not. Let's move that over because I remember now what we put it. We put it here because the level determines that we're seeing these components, and the player controller is persistent throughout all of their kind of game time. I don't know if we can change the player controller when we're in the actual game menu or the pick your islands view. So if we have the same controller there and we're handling all the input in the player controller, it will be awkward to handle the events that happen within a game and the events that happen within the level selection part of the game. So that's why we've done them in the game. Now with this, we're actually saying that when the user clicks on something, call a function on that component. Now the problem with that is the components within our menus aren't going to have on-click sector. Sector obviously is related to the minimap part, so it doesn't make sense for the menu components to have that function. And equally, when you're dealing with the sector, it's safe to have each of the individual sectors, individual parts of the minimap. If we just open up that blueprint, minimap, and conversion viewport. Yeah, so it's safe to have each of these components handle their click, or well, we have the on-click sector. How did we do that? Ah yes, we get the minimap and then we call that function. That's not, yeah. So one easy way to fix to improve that would just be use the actor, because the actor should be the same thing if we cast it to the minimap. Take that away. It should actually result in the same. Yeah, slightly too high, but we'll deal with that in a bit. Yeah, so that worked the same, and slightly too low. So, and we can see the two menus are overlapping, and the little man's not in the same place. But definitely have to get the ratio right, because looks like it's clipping some part of the top and the bottom. So while the window height is right, the actual camera view is not. I think we can solve that by selecting our camera. It's the width that kind of affects that, even though it's kind of the height as well. It's a bit annoying. We just go for 380, see if that makes it show up anymore. Yeah, so that's shown a bit more at the top and a bit more at the bottom, and our sector's gone a bit smaller. So getting that scale right, so all the components are the same size as they should be, It's going to take a little bit of practice. I need to make sure that I can just kind of flip between them and they will look very similar, if not all the same. But it's changing that made it a little bit better. So all we changed there was to say when you've clicked on an actor, we cast it to a minimap and then we call the function on it. But the next issue is that if we just add a print here and we say cast failed, when we run this and we click on anything else, it's saying cast failed because they're not a minimap. And I'm not sure whether it's nice to basically just try and determine what we've clicked on by casting it to all the possible values of possible classes, or whether there'd be a better way to determine what we've clicked on, maybe without using the object name that we technically shouldn't be using. The advantage with what we've got now is that it doesn't require the object name. But typically attempting to, in the kind of programming worlds, casting things from one object to another is relatively expensive. So if we try and cast everything that we hit into, every actor that we've hit into something else, then we're just going to have a whole bunch of casts that only one of them will ever succeed. There may be a better way to do that, but for now, again, that's going to work. So we need the research menu to be hidden in game, so we hide that one, and the control menu should be shown in game by default. I'll get rid of the awkward overlap, and what we can do then is try and cast our actor that we've clicked on to a control menu instance, and effectively if we fail to cast it to a minimap, we'll try and cast it to the control menu, and while we're here we'll cast it to the research menu too. So we've got the full chain that we need, and then finally if we still can't do it, we'll just print that string out. So when we click on a minimap component, we call our on-click sector on the minimap. When we click on our control menu, I think the function is going to be a little bit more generic, because we don't really want to say, are you clicking on this or are you clicking on that within the external context. So we'll have a function and we'll just call it on-click, and into that function we just call it component because it will be a sprite component, paper sprite component. That's the same as we did for the minimap. So just for debugging purposes, or demonstration purposes, let's print something out within this function, and we'll copy those two. Yeah, copy those two, and we'll create the same thing in the research menu. Now when we play, we should be able to click on our light bulb. Oh, well, nothing happens. Go to the control menu. Let's see if that's actually, maybe it doesn't have a name. Nope, our on click's not working. I must have got too keen and not tied it up correctly at the top level. forgot to call the function. On click. No, that's on this one. Call the function on click. And call the function on click on there. And in both cases, the component needs to be the. Oh, okay, so what did we pass into the on-click sector then? Because it clearly wasn't the. Okay, so it's just a scene component. Set selected sector. Scene component there. So yeah, we haven't specifically said this paper sprite component in either case. Probably because that's what we get given to start with. And it does look like, even though we use it within the various functions, we never actually care that it's a paper sprite. We just want its name, its object name, and by doing that we don't actually need to cast it to a paper sprite. We don't change it as a paper sprite from at least the context of the click, which is fine. That's going to be the case here as well, so we can change this to be a scene component instead. And this one. Now we should be able to tie up that component. Oop, missed. We missed. So now we should at least be able to click on stuff. It obviously all does things. Now, for the most part, the control menu will have things. If we just hide the research menu, we'll have certain things in the same place all the time. The resources can kind of go around the bottom depending on how many you have. In most of the early games you only have 2 or 3 most. Sometimes you can have quite a lot more. Obviously it depends on the sector you're on as well, because different sectors have different resources. The resources in Mega-lo-Mania are a bit different than perhaps they are in other games. You can build the different things with mostly any resource available on that sector, so it never really stops you getting everything. And then, not very logically, rock takes wood, but the concept is that you can make anything with the resources you have available. But I think in this case, between these two sectors, it's possible to get to the same effective technology level by researching everything. But in other maps, sometimes you do have a disadvantage, and certain sectors can or can't create certain things. But I think there's a possibility of maybe about 4 or 5 resources maximum. Then you've got the ability to make a mine, and then you've got the you've got the mine, and you've got the borehole or the mining hole. Don't really know what it's called, but there's kind of multiple ways you can gather resources. In this case, we're actually gathering by hand, which is what that represents. Once we go up kind of to the next tech level, there'll be a black hole, which is actually kind of your open mining, and then you'll be gathering them by that process instead. So the resources kind of stay in their same place when the mining icon shows up, and the factory shows up on the right hand side when you've got that, and the defense shows up just here in this space when you've got that. So actually it perhaps isn't too dynamic. Now the research icon in this case is the white light bulb. Later on in the game, when you get the laboratory, then the white icon will change to a lab icon. So some of the icons do actually change, but for the most part they're either there and visible, representing something, or they're just not visible. Which means when we're working on our control menu, we can literally name these things so we know what we're referring to. So this one would be the research. This one is, what did it call it? Building status, maybe. Call that army. I just call this resource 1, and then we'll have a number of resources around the side. The arrows we really don't care about. The user can't click on them or interact with them, so there's nothing to do there. Now, in our mini-map, we're actually determining which one we've clicked on by the name of the object, and I've yet to figure out what the right way of handling that is, so we can effectively use the same concept. There are things like tags that we could use potentially to tag various things, but in the case of the minimap, and perhaps even in here, I'd only tag them by the same name as they already have, so it doesn't really make any sense. Tagging things would make sense if I wanted to group various things together. Research at slow speed or normal speed takes quite a long time. I think we'll go up a tech level once we've got the second weapon, so we'll just see what that's like. There we go. So obviously when we go up a tech level, we get the mining hole. Our building goes up in its picture. It's still flashing. Let's just rub it out with a mouse. I don't know if that, yeah, it's still flashing on the screen. There we go. So our little man changes to the different one, and then we've got this little shovel. This indicates we're using the hole. So in this case, these resources come from the mining hole, whereas this resource still comes from gathering it by hand. And I think the number on the right is how many we have. So we can see that the layout of the resources, I think maybe we'll actually only have 4, because the next resource would be here. I'm not sure if there's ever one on the kind of upper left hand side. Perhaps there is, then it would be symmetrical. But we can see that that's actually going to be this kind of 4 to 5 maximum resources that you can be getting at any one time. But we're going to work on our research. When we click the research button, we want to go into the research menu. Now, the control menu can't show or hide the research menu, or vice versa. The control menu can simply say that it's been clicked on. It doesn't really say what's going to happen when that occurs. So I guess firstly we need to figure out what's been clicked on. So we'll go into the onClick. We're taking its object name, so let's just confirm that that works as expected. Yep, we get the research. I'll keep that, but otherwise ignore it. Control menu. So what can we do with the paper sprite? Seeing what options we have available, it looks really like, at least with the way that this is currently going, we simply have to say what have you clicked on by name and then determine it. Maybe a select would work. that's just going to be, it's not going to be the right way around. Oops, I'll switch from biome. Find the right one that we want here. Forget which one we want. Don't think we've used it before. Nope. Not particularly good, I can't remember. Maybe you can only switch on enumeration or something. I can't remember how we would switch on the component name, but that's not too bad. We'll definitely have to improve that later on. Switch on string, that works. It's kind of what we wanted anyway. Using our object name kind of solution again. So, don't want that one. So if we clicked on the research, we want to trigger an event in here. And we will call it. Oops. And we'll take the switch, put it here. So we'll call the big light bulb. The big light bulb in this case returns us to the main menu. If we're in the factory, or we're in the mining over here, or we're in the combat, they always have that big icon. And that always takes us back. So rather than naming it something specific for this menu, we'll just call it close menu. Then we can go to our on click, and our first pin would be close menu, and we'll have a function called, not a function, remove that, a event called onClose. we will call. So our control menu, which is our kind of our main menu, has an event for opening the research menu, and our research menu has an event for closing the menu. We can go back over here now within our level, because it's the level that determines which menu is going to be shown. It currently doesn't create these components because they're all kind of dropped into the viewport, but we can reference them by dragging them over here. There we go. And this is all related to handling our left click. So we should be able to take all of that. Okay, there's no move to graph or anything, but we can create a new graph, and we'll just call this the left mouse button. We don't have spaces. Left mount button, left mouse button. So we can take all of that and put it in here. So all the left mouse button pressing is going to be handled by this function, and we can see that the event comes up here. Potentially, if the right mouse button doesn't really do much, maybe we could put the right mouse button in here and call this more generic, but for the time being, having that separate graph means that it's not getting in the way of our primary code. Because within here we have to wonder how that would work then. If the be nice if that particular, not that there's much there for the sector selecting handling, but there would be a kind of elegance to having that in a separate graph as well, so that it wasn't kind of in here all the time, but it doesn't matter too much for now. So our two references to our menus, we need to make sure we bind to the events. So we want to bind to, what did we call it? From the control menu, it's bind to research. Clicked. Who is our function? Maybe we can take it from the control menu directly. On open research menu. There we go. And we could do the same here, so we can go to the research menu, drag our event straight into our graph, use bind, let's get rid of them, don't need them, and bind it up. So I wonder if we can do this. Take the control menu. Oops. Event. Yeah, I'm not sure if it's possible or if we can attach the event that we've kind of bound to here to a separate graph. It'd be good if all the menu handling was done in its own graph, but there's no way to get this connection into that. I'm going all over the place now. Into that area. Unless we handled the binding in this menu as well, which may be possible. Let's see if that works. So take that. Oops. here. No, we can't have the on begin play again. I'm not really sure how we can achieve that. For now, we'll just make it work in here, and I'll have to do some more research on how the events are best tied together. We'll deal with the closing of it shortly. See if that triggers the event that we want. Yep, so we get the research, which is our print string from our click event, and we get the hello from our debug within the level. Let's get rid of that. So when we click the research button, what we actually want to do is hide our control menu, set visibility, to nothing, so we set the visibility to no, and then we want to set the visibility on our research menu to true. See if that works. No. We can see it calls that, but it doesn't actually hide or show anything. Perhaps it's because of the propagation to the children. Let's see if that works. Well, that hid it. It would be nice not to have to propagate it to the children, because we may have children inside that actor that are not meant to be shown. If we can only do one gathering of some resource, then we don't want to show all of them. We only want to show the ones that are actually meant to be shown. But why is our research menu not being shown up? So we set the visibility to true. We propagate the children to true. The research menu has all the pieces, and we can see it here. I think research menu, we said hide actor in game. Maybe that's the reason. I know it's going to show up immediately, but we'll just tie up the close. Do that one. Take the research event from here. And effectively, it's the same process that we want. Now we know that we can only get to the research from the main menu, so we don't have to worry about saving all, hiding all the other menus. We just need to make sure we set the visibility of the control menu to false, and we set the visibility, oh no, we're exiting in this case, so that needs to be true, propagated to children, and the research menu needs to be false, propagated to children. So if we go, ignoring the fact they're both shown up by default, if we go into the research and then out of the research, it now works correctly. We can move between them. But as I say, we are propagating everything, and that's definitely going to be a problem. The scene route doesn't seem to determine whether we can see it or not, so maybe the visibility isn't the right. We could use the hidden property. Let's give that a go. So we'll take out these scene routes ones that we've done. these up. And potentially we could use a boolean value to remove the duplication here, and then we'd only actually have to, or we could use a switch statement or something like that, so that we don't have to keep putting the sect actor hidden in game option. We'll just confirm this actually works by tying everything up again. So in the case of open research menu, we're going to hide the control menu and show the research menu, and then vice versa for the other case. And what we'll do is go back here and hide the research menu again, so it should show up correctly when we start, and yeah, we can't switch between them. Did I do that right? Oh, new hidden. Maybe the visibility and the hidden is the other way around. Should be that way around. Yep, that works better. So you're not saying whether it's a bit of an awkward little peg. You're not saying whether it should or shouldn't be hidden. You're saying whether it should or shouldn't not be hidden. New hidden. That doesn't really make any sense. It's a bit of an awkward logic, but nonetheless it works. We can now switch between the two menus. And we know that for each time we're switching between the menus, the event's going to the right place. Yeah, so we could make the selector, the sector for the minimap more generic as well. We probably still need to cast it to their appropriate part, because the on-click only exists on the class, the highest class. So we've got a base class actor here being clicked on, but only our version of that has the on-click function, so we have to cast it. Potentially, if we were to if we were to implement this or some parts of this in the C++ code, we'd be able to resolve that by creating a base class that has an on-click, so we can cast all of our actors to the same class type. Maybe I can, yeah, maybe I'll, so we've got the basic click stuff working, and I'll try and demonstrate, if I can, this kind of class casting process that we have here. We've got a base class actor, then we've got other classes that inherit from that of the specific types, and then we've got our functions. If we change our sector function on our minimap to simply on click, that makes it the same as all the rest. That changes it nicely in all the references. Now, as we say, what we can't do is take the actor and call on click on it. Don't really know what that does. Have to look at what that is. Maybe there's a better way, an even better way to handle the click processing. But for now, we'll demonstrate what we're doing. So, don't know if we can do this all without having to rewrite everything, but we'll try. So in our content, we're going to create a new blueprint called so we'll create a blueprint interface. Interfaces typically describe how something can be used, but as the details of that implied. If we just bring that up again, blueprint interface, as this text here describes, you don't, it's only by name you're describing the functions, you don't actually implement them. So this interface will be our let's call it just the UI interface, and our minimap, see if we can so it doesn't look like a way that we can just now build that on the interface that we've just done. I'm not necessarily surprised, because you're effectively changing the base class of that, unless we can add the interface. We can't even add the interface as a component. That's okay. We won't do it to the minimap then, because there's quite a lot in the minimap, and that will take a bit longer than I would have expected. So we can. Is that interface? No, because that interface isn't even an actor, is it? So it's probably not. Yeah, it's probably not even what we want at that point. Can we do? Yeah, okay. So interface is probably kind of what we're going for, but because of the way this is all built up, can't quite do it like that to start with. So we create this actor instead. We'll delete this interface so there's no confusion. Call that our UI interface. Within the UI interface, we'll create that function that we've had in all the others, the onClick function, and that onClick function will have component input, which is a scene component, and then from that UI interface we can create a child blueprint class. And we're actually going to call that our control menu 2. Where did that put that? There we go. Open that up. And our control menu 2 is going to have our onClick function. Won't. How do we override it? That's how we call it, but how can we override it? Ah, there we go. So let's make this bigger so we can see. So what it says there is that there's 22 overridables, or overridable, and what we're trying to do is we've got this onClick function and our UI interface actor, but we actually want to implement it differently to our interface. Inevitably our interface is going to actually have an implementation for it. We want to implement it in our control menu 2 in its own way. So we can use the override button here to click to and select the onClick, and from there we can then implement that particular function within this context. Now what we can do actually is create a new graph here, call it the click event, and override the onClick and print a string for, and that will be control menu click. Now to get this working we need to take everything in our viewport, copy that, paste it in here, front on left, ball. So we just copied out over all of the images. They're not named correctly, so we know that this one just needs to be the research, so that it maps to what we're going to do within the click event. And actually wanted that in there. So that it's in one place. And over in the control menu, so we will hide those two, the control and the research, and we'll drop in control menu 2. Now we'll just put this in a slightly different place, so we can see there's a different place, just to see if it actually works. And we run that, and we're still getting them both. But we can see that it's saying cast failed. That's okay, because within our game blueprint we're trying to cast the icon, thing to any one of these 3 things and then print it. So just to kind of complete the demonstration here, what we need now is research menu 2. Just jumping around a bit, but just trying to get the pieces in place, and then we can go through it more thoroughly. So we'll create another child blueprint class from our UI interface. Research menu 2. Edit that. So we'll go through the same process. We'll create a new graph called the click event. From there we'll override the on click. Take that, put it in here. So I think it says that because I cut it from one graph and paste it into another, and you can only have it once. So it's kind of saying that I'm moving it, even though I actually cut it and paste it rather than copy and paste it, but whatever makes it feel better. So in the control menu we said just control menu click. So in the research menu, I just closed, we'll say research menu clicked, and we need to copy all of our sprites into here, so it's all in the viewport. Hide the white circle, default the perspective, so that it's visually going to be identical to the research menu. And we'll drop in our research menu. Again, we'll just make sure it's different position than the other one. For some reason the blue shield isn't where it should be. So it made the default. Oh, everything's on the wrong hierarchy. There we go. That's what was wrong with there. So that's not the problem here, is it? No, I don't know. Copy and paste must have messed the hierarchy of them up a bit. It's done it here as well. Everything's a child of the little man in the middle. Not that it matters. So now when we run this, we're still going to get that cast failed when we click on. So there we clicked on the original, but we'll get the cast failed where we click on the stuff from the other 2 menus. But we need to go into the game and yeah, so we'll leave that one. And so we're meant to hide the control menu, like the hidden in game, so they're both hidden now. Okay, so now we're just seeing research menu 2 and control menu 2. So we'll just hide research menu 2 too. Now we're just seeing control menu 2. We can select it here. But that's what we're seeing there. And now in our game left mouse button code, in the game left mouse button code, we can take the actor we've clicked on and cast it to our UR interface instead. And from the UI interface even, we can call the onClick function that we've defined. And then we'll pass in the component. And what we'll do is say when the left mouse button is pressed, we'll go straight to the cast to the UI interface. That means all of this is not actually being used anymore. The cast fail can still be tied up though, just so it's clear. So now when we do this, we should see that it goes through to the cast, into the onClick, and then if we open up the control menu, so of the control 2, click event. The custom event did go wrong, didn't it? Change that back to a custom event, not actually to the event we wanted. I didn't notice that. OnClick, event OnClick. There we go. Doesn't seem that we can cut and paste it because it thinks it's duplicated, so we have to just add it ourselves. That's fine, and then do the same in the research menu. Event OnClick. Play it again. So now we should get the control menu clicked here, control menu clicked there. We get a cast failed if we click on all the bits that we haven't handled, but we're effectively getting that control menu clicked. Now, from the original control menu, we basically said when you click on something, we get its name, we switch it, and then if it's research, we'll call the research. So we can take that exact same logic and put it into our control menu too. We'll leave the print string in just so things are clear moving forwards. Tile those up, and then because we know that's going to work, we'll take the same code from our research menu, put that in our research menu too, and tie that up. Tie up the component on both of them. Almost missed that. And play that. Why do we have that? Okay, yes, we need the open research menu event dispatcher, and obviously I have to replace the reference to that. It may be called the same, but it's not the same, so tie that up. And the same here, the event dispatcher doesn't exist, so we have to make the event dispatcher and call it, and compile those. And back within the game, we've got to handle the events. We put them in the event graph. I think actually maybe we don't have to do it. Let's see if that works. So if we miss, then do we get the cast failed? But that's a bit awkward, isn't it? Even though the research menu is hidden, we're actually getting the event for the research menu if we click on something that does actually tie up. So that's going to be a bit annoying, but we can deal with that. So we need to figure out why our control menu 2 if we click on that, it does actually go all the way to the event menu. So I think maybe the events here. Oh no, our yeah, of course. The reference here is the control menu and the research menu. They're not the second versions of them. They're the first versions of them. So we need to take the two new versions and drop them in here. So it's always the yeah, so basically all of that, just move it over there, all of that needs to be redone again with the new things. Don't know if we can. Doesn't look like we can bind that event without dragging it from the other bit, the other window, but that's okay. Let's just do that then. Okay, so we've got the components here. Bind to the main menu controls, control menu controls, bind to the research menu controls. Take our hidden, not hidden logic. Tie that up, and then we take the control, it's that one and that one, oh no, and that one even. Research always second. Yep. So I think this is actually going to cause us an error. Don't really know why. Let's just get rid of all that, then it doesn't cause us an error. Almost. We got into it, but we can't get back out of it. Definitely target research menu 2. Yeah, so we probably didn't name the component, did we? Because when we copied and pasted them all, the copy and paste them, they all lose their custom names. So we just need to select that one, call that close something. Close menu. Now we should be able to go in and out again. Well, we're in and out. It just didn't show up again. That's probably because the logic within the game isn't quite right. Saying on close. Looks fine. Why did that not work then? Don't know. So, regardless of why it doesn't quite show up, it shouldn't be too difficult to fix. But the main thing is that we've managed to, within the left mouse button, replace what would be constant repetition of cast to a certain thing, try and use it in this certain way by the on-click event, except for the minimap, because we haven't done that one yet. That one, there's quite a lot to copy and paste over if we were to make that class from our UI. But definitely with the control menu and the research menu, we don't need any of that, because that's always going to work for both of them. And we can kind of see that that's, well, we can see that that's true by dint of we are able to go into the research menu and out of it. The fact that the main menu is not showing up again, I think, is a different issue. It's not related to our inheritance and our classes. So just position our research control menus. Get them on top of each other. So now when we play, the little man doesn't move. But it doesn't come back still. As I say, that's not a big issue. But I think there's an element of this approach is working, but obviously I've got some hesitation on whether it's working in the correct way, whether again using UI widgets would actually be cleaner, particularly in relation to the click events. The way that we're handling click events in this case is obviously very much like clicking on, I guess, the actors, the clicking on parts that are moving within the game, whereas we're kind of making a very static menu with an actor. It doesn't necessarily feel like we're using the right tool for the job, even though it works. But that's the main thing. Once we get down to the kind of the game logic we can move from a widget to an actor easy enough, and recreating the kind of interaction logic that we've put so far into the actor. If we were to recreate that within a widget, again, it's really not going to be that difficult. So we're not really losing anything by kind of following this path at this time. So that's all I'm going to do for today. I'll try and clean up some of the images that we've got, maybe align the control menus so that they look nicer and more sorted. Again, that would be easier if they were a widget, because it has the notion of layouts and stuff. But if I stick with the actors, and I'll try and do some research on the widgets, try and get that done to determine whether we can actually get them to work in this context. But in either case, I'll look at tidying up the images, getting the rest of the images for some of the other menus so we can kind of move around the entire control menu correctly, all prepared for the next stream, which will be Monday, because I'm not able to stream tomorrow, and typically have Sunday off, so it will be Monday approximately 9 o'clock if everything goes well. So thanks for watching. Hope to see you again soon. Bye for now.